They're still there, physically. They reply, they nod, they don't seem upset. And yet, something is missing. Not warmth, not emotion. Mental presence. The INTP didn't leave the room, they left the process. INTPs don't withdraw the way people expect. There is no confrontation, no dramatic exit, no emotional shutdown. Nothing breaks on the surface, nothing collapses visibly. The interaction appears intact. Instead, there is a quiet cognitive disengagement. They stop tracking what you say, stop refining shared meaning, stop correcting small inaccuracies, not out of frustration, not out of exhaustion, but because the mental process has already concluded. And if you mistake that stillness for introversion, you miss what already happened. Because when an INTP withdraws, they don't pull back emotionally. They pull back structurally. They close the loop internally, categorize the interaction as complete, and never reopen it. Introversion looks like silence, but it's still processing. It's quiet attention, background analysis, meaning forming without being spoken. Internal abandonment looks similar, until you notice one difference. An introverted INTP is still curious, still tracking patterns beneath the surface, still mapping who you are and how things connect. They may not speak, but they are actively engaged. A withdrawn INTP is not. The curiosity is gone. The internal questions stop forming. The mental simulation shuts down. They are no longer building a model of you. They are no longer checking for coherence, no longer updating assumptions, no longer testing alternative interpretations. And once that process stops, there's nothing left to refine, nothing left to clarify, nothing left to discuss. And once you know what to look for, the signs are not emotional, not dramatic, but unmistakable. Sign 1. INTPs argue when they care. Not emotionally, cognitively. Debate is how they invest, how they test alignment, how they keep the internal model alive. When an INTP stops challenging your logic, when they stop pointing out inconsistencies, when they no longer refine what you say, that silence isn't agreement. When they say, yeah, sure, and move on, that's not peace, that's withdrawal. The discussion didn't end. The interest did. Sign 2. Watch the words. INTPs normally speak in layers, clarifications, side notes, precision stacked on precision. After withdrawal, language compresses. Sentences get shorter. Replies lose structure. Nuance disappears. Not because they're tired, not because they're distracted, but because they've stopped thinking with you. They no longer need accuracy, because nothing is being built anymore. Sign 3. This one is subtle. The humor changes. Before, irony was playful, invitational, a shared abstraction you could step into together. After withdrawal, irony becomes deflective. Light jokes, detached remarks, comments that sound casual, but quietly create distance. It's not sarcasm meant to hurt. It's irony meant to avoid further investment. You're no longer inside the system. You're being observed from outside it. Sign 4. INTPs normally hate being misunderstood. They correct, refine, rephrase until the idea lands exactly right. After withdrawal, they stop doing that. If you misunderstand them, they let it stand. They don't push back. They don't adjust. They don't repair the gap. Because clarity is only necessary when the relationship is still active. Silence here isn't tolerance, it's resignation. Sign 5. This isn't about emotional vulnerability. INTPs don't primarily bond through feelings. They bond through ideas, patterns they noticed, half-formed theories, questions without immediate answers. When that stream dries up, something has already ended. They're still polite, still functional, still responsive on the surface, but the inner workspace is closed. You're no longer invited inside. Sign 6. They show up. They respond. They comply. But nothing adapts. There's no responsiveness, no calibration, no adjustment based on feedback. An INTP who cares is constantly recalibrating, subtly, continuously, almost invisibly. One who has withdrawn, runs on default settings. The interaction continues. The connection does not. Sign 7. This is the final sign. INTPs hate unfinished loops. Loose ends bother them. Unresolved questions stay active in the background. So, if something mattered, they would return to it. If they don't. If the topic never comes back. If there is no follow-up, no revisit, no reanalysis, the loop is already closed, and an INTP does not reopen closed systems. When an INTP withdraws, there is no announcement, no explanation, no final conversation, no emotional punctuation, only absence, inside presence. They are still there, technically, still reachable, still responsive on the surface, but the internal process is complete. By the time you notice the silence, the decision wasn't recent. It wasn't impulsive. It wasn't reactive. It was processed, resolved, filed away. And that's the part most people miss.